Welcome to the Tarot Coven cast. Real people, real talk, real magic. Hello out there, lovely listeners, and welcome to the Tarot Coven cast. I'm your host, Jasmine.
This is Elena.
I'm Jekanovia.
Hi, I'm Jessie.
And this time on the show, it's the finale episode, and we're going to be answering some listener questions and offering some Tarotscopes for Leo season. But first, I have a question of my own for the Coven. So I want to know from each of you ladies how this experience has been for you. I know that podcasting is something that was brand new to each of you back in February, and I'd just love to know your thoughts on what the past 6 months have been like. Why don't we start with you, Elena?
It has honestly been a dream to me because it was something that I thought about before that I met you ladies. But I never thought I would ever do it or ever be a part of something or the community of podcasting. So it's been amazing. And I've learned a lot. So I just really appreciate everything all the hard work that the three of you have put into it. And it just gives me that feel to work harder and just brings that inspiration to me. So thank you. I'm really grateful for this.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah. How about you, Jess?
It's been so fun just to have these conversations around topics that I may not have dug into to that deep of level. And I have also appreciated just the prep work. And I mean, my goodness, there is a lot of organizing and planning and also just to promote it. And so Jasmine, hats off to you. I think I've learned so much just about organization from you. And it's been amazing to watch, but it's been so much fun. And it's been, it was just one of those surprise, beautiful things within this group that I wasn't expecting, but has ended up being such a gift. So thank you.
Oh, yeah, it did just kind of happen. You know, it was like just all the stars aligning. How about you, Jekanovia?
I have to say that it has been amazing and a huge opportunity for growth for me. And just having this connection with the three of you, it's another lesson in the power of sisterhood and community. And it's just been brilliant. It's a great experience. And I thank all of you for being part of it.
Yeah, I totally agree that it's been such an experience for growth because this has really pushed me to step outside of my comfort zone in regards to collaborating and working with others. I've always been such a solo creator, and this has been such a lesson in loosening my need for total control over things. But I've also learned that I can kind of step into the role of leader. I've always been a little afraid of that, and you guys have been such a good support system. And this show just wouldn't be what it is without the three of you by my side. So I'm just so grateful. And I'm glad we took this moment to just show some gratitude to each other. So.
Oh, great question. And thank you listeners who have found us by all sorts of means to, download and listen and learn along with us.
Oh my goodness. The response to the show has been honestly incredible. I really did not expect for it to be where it's at already. So yeah, thank you so much. I don't think we do it for, the validation or anything like that. I think we genuinely just like having these conversations with one another, but it's always so cool to see that people are enjoying it and getting something from it. And that's kind of partly why we wanted to use the finale episode to focus on you guys and to take your questions and to interact in this way. So let's get into it. We're going to kick off with a question from @Leslie Estrada. Leslie has left us a couple of questions, so we're going to split them up a little bit. But one of their first questions is there an easier way to shuffle, or like what's a good way to shuffle? I think you just got to go with what's comfortable to you. I mean, overhand, bridge style, mixing them all around the table, throwing them up in the air. you just kind of got to do what works for you. I think my shuffling style has changed as I've grown in my tarot practice, and it's different, I think, from month to month, really. And sometimes I'm really messy with it. Sometimes I get more zoned in. It really is just kind of what you're feeling as you go to that reading. I don't know. Anybody else have a different opinion on that one?
So, yeah, it's really hard to kind of figure out what that is in the beginning. And there's no right or wrong. It's just what goes, what feels good to you and what feels right. For me, I was taught at a very young age to do the casino, like the poker shuffle. So I always do that first to just kind of mix up the energy, and then I do the overhand, and then sometimes I will split the deck. But those are my top ways, and I haven't really changed it. My daughter I taught her to make a rainbow. I told her, just make a fan amount, make a rainbow, and that's how she picks hers. And then she just hovers her hand over, and then she just intuitively picks whichever card feels good to her.
I also had this question when I started reading tarot. Not so much that I thought there was one way to do it, but I was always curious to those who had been practicing a while, how they like to shuffle. And it was actually a question that I asked at Masters of Tarot, the panelists of amazing tarot instructors, and they all did it differently. What I have settled on is I always tap my deck 3 times to my heart, and I'll shuffle overhand for a while. I love to rainbow fan, and then I do pick energetically. I kind of put my left hand over and pick my cards, or I'll just take a look and see whatever cards catch my eye. I have never been comfortable just shuffling and like picking the top 3 or whatever, how many cards are in whatever spread I'm doing off the top. That has never been my way to do it, even though I know a ton of tarot readers do it, and that's awesome. But yeah, for me, I really like to look at the card and see which ones are calling to me. So that's how I do it. Great question.
Yeah, I do like that. The poker shuffle, I think it's called overhand. And then I pick either randomly from inside the deck, or I'll just keep shuffling until something flips out. So yeah, pretty laid back. And if the cards are too big, because my hands are tiny, I'll just put them on the table and shuffle them all over the place and mix them up.
Yeah, sometimes that's the most fun, I think. You just get, I don't know, it's like you would do it as a kid, maybe, if you were just playing with a deck of cards.
Yeah, you just make a mess and have fun.
I like that you said throw them around. Kind of makes you want to throw some around and then see what happens.
It's like, I don't know if anybody ever played the prank on you where they're like, oh, you want to play 52 card pickup? And then they would just throw the card deck.
Yes.
Yeah, throw them up and see which cards turn over, and there's your reading. I don't know, could be fun.
There you go, yeah.
All right, well, Elena, I think you've got the next question.
So the next question comes from Leslie Estrada, and it's, what are your favorite tarot and oracle decks that I could find on Amazon or Etsy? So this one, for me, is a little hard, but if you want something that's kind of similar to the traditional tarot deck, like the Rider-Waite, but something more modern, I would go with the modern Witch Tarot. It just feel like more fun and colorful and more relatable. And then another, an oracle deck. Oh, it's so hard to choose. But the one that I've been just gravitating, I guess I can just say the one that I've been gravitating the most to is the Angels and Ancestors Oracle. And that you can find on Amazon. I haven't really gotten too many from Etsy. Have you guys found any good ones from Etsy?
Okay, so Elena, I have 3 decks that I've recently bought or am going to be getting in the mail very soon from Etsy. And the first I received a few months ago, and it's the Ashley Cook Tarot. She's an artist from Scotland, so it came all the way from UK, and I love it. It's kind of collagey, bright, and I only use this deck to read for myself, so I've never used it to read for others. And then recently in the mail received the Hilda Tarot, which is the cutest tarot deck ever. It's based off of cartoon drawings from Hilda, who was like this 50s plump pinup girl, and it looks very wholesome, even though it's a pinup. It's just so cute. I actually I actually selected the cards for the Tarotscope for Leo season using the Hilda Tarot. So you'll see the pictures of those. And then what's coming in hopefully this week or next week, I've ordered the Babes in Orbit Tarot, which I'm very excited about because it is straight up like punk. It's a little off color. It's very different from, I think, my normal vibe, but it just called to me and I was like, I need to add it to my collection. So it's coming, but I love Etsy for decks. And I actually do a lot of Kickstarter supporting. So I'm always on Kickstarter looking for decks out there. And I have quite a few that I've received and also a few that are coming. So highly recommend if you're looking for something a little bit alternative and not kind of the mainstream. Kickstarter is a great way to discover decks. But on Amazon, yep, can't go wrong with so many that are out there. And I know for me, I've obviously Smith-Waite. I think everyone should have a Smith-Waite in their possession, just something to start with or at least to return to. And I kind of try to have a variety of decks in case I am reading for younger people or maybe people who would prefer animals, or just I like to have diversity in the people or what that's showing. And so I think if my advice, I guess, would be is if you are going to read for others, just have a nice variety for whoever gravitates towards what imagery. It always makes the reading kind of sink in a little bit more. So as far as oracle cards, Jasmine and I were able to participate in a really fun collaborative project, which was the Stories Oracle by Shop the Eighth House. And so went through the process of getting assigned a constellation, and it was pretty free as far as like a story or a poem or something creatively to retell the story of that constellation. And it was all being compiled with other, I'm assuming everyone's a tarot reader or creative in some way around the project, and went through the Kickstarter process. It was funded. And so now that deck is coming out and it will be available through Shop the Eighth House. But it's a very unique take on Oracle where it was collaborative stories. A lot of constellations. I want to say that over 50 constellations were used. And I don't know, Jasmine, if I've missed anything on that, but that'll be a fun one to check out. It should be ready fairly soon.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. I don't know why. I guess I just keep forgetting about it. It feels like it was so long ago. It really wasn't. But yeah, I'm glad that you remembered to bring it up. I really like that you brought up Kickstarter because, so my answer is maybe going to be kind of an annoying one, but I'm going to give it anyway. I'm not really familiar with Etsy. I mean, I've been on Etsy before, but I've never ordered anything like tarot decks, nothing from it. And I am currently trying to not use Amazon as much anymore. So I think the Kickstarter idea is great because you're supporting the artist directly. And what I was going to say is that I would really encourage anybody to maybe find a deck you really like, contact the creator and ask them where they should buy it from so that they will get the most bang for your buck, right? Like, because we want artists to be paid for their art. And I think that the Kickstarter idea is, probably one of the best ways. But yeah, I would say contact the creator and see what they say. And if the answer is Etsy or Amazon, there you go. How about you, Jekanovia? I think you might have a little bit more experience with Etsy.
I do, actually. I order usually used decks on Etsy just as a cost-effective thing. And I just think it's really neat to, because when you receive them, there's already that imprint of energy. And it's, for me, I just find it like really neat to play around with that. Of course, I clear them before I use them. But the one deck, and I don't own it, but it is on like top of my wish list. It's called Deck of the Bastard Tarot, and it's by Tarot by Seven, and she's on Etsy. It is the coolest looking deck I've ever seen. I'll share a link to it and we'll put it in the show notes maybe.
Yeah. What's the kind of style of it?
It's like an eclectic, it looks like she's taken all different kinds of images from different tarot decks in history, and she's made them look like they're like 100 years old and well worn. Like the whole, it's just the coolest thing in the world. And I've been drooling over them for years. So I definitely had to mention that one.
Very cool.
An oracle deck I've been working with a lot lately, and if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen it. It's the Birds Oracle deck, and it's by Jessica Blaine Smith. The feel of them, it's like touching like soft suede. It's just this beautiful finish on these cards. They're gorgeous cards. The meanings are Incredible. And I think you can only get them through her website, and that's goldenblue.ca. Highly recommend. Very affordable, very, very good quality. And as far as Amazon goes, I do order from Amazon from time to time. I got my Before Tarot from there. So if you are familiar with the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, the Before Tarot it gives you a brand new, it's like getting two decks in one, because not only you're getting the Before Tarot, but it's going to change the way you see the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot. So you're going to relearn it all over again. So that's kind of where I would point you.
Awesome. Yeah. And we should add links to all of these decks that you gals have mentioned so people can find them a lot quicker.
Yes. Okay, let's see here. So our next question is from Sky Spec, and it is, what are your thoughts around letting people touch your tarot deck? Do you think it messes with the energy? Now, this is going to change from person to person, but for me, in my practice, don't touch my deck unless I ask you if you want to touch my deck. I am very particular about the energy that goes on them, because yes, it does mess with the energy as far as I'm concerned, because they are basically an open channel to the other side, and you're doing that communication and that spirit work with them. So it's really important to respect, if you have someone who's reading your cards or somebody has cards, don't just assume it's okay to touch them. Always ask first.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's number one, right? Like, definitely ask a reader if it's okay, if you can get involved with that. I think I'm kind of split on this. There are some decks that I'm cool with having people touch, and some decks that I find are really personal for me, and I probably wouldn't pull them out as often anyways. I remember when I was growing up, my mom had tarot decks, and I went to reach for one time, and she saw me, and she kind of was just like, well, like I would kind of prefer if you just put that down, please. Like, that's not really for you. And I remember having this like reaction to being like, whoa, this must be so special. Like, I don't know. And maybe it's just because I was a kid and I wasn't going to treat the deck with the kind of, I don't know, delicacy that she may have wanted. But regardless, when I first started reading, I really held true to that, where I was like, nobody touches my deck, not ever, not once. But yeah, like I said, like now I do have some decks where I actually like the people that I'm reading for to at least pick the cards that we're going to read, because I kind of like how it makes them an active participant in the reading. It kind of gets I like that their energy gets mixed in. I don't know. It feels more like a collaboration it feels more like a dialogue than a monologue for me.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Like, I'm really split. To be honest, I prefer to just not let anyone touch my deck. I feel like it does alter the energies a little bit. The only person that's allowed to touch my deck is my daughter, and she doesn't like tarot cards, but she loves oracle cards. So I have a little separate sets that I keep aside for her that she only gravitates to, and that's the only ones that she'll play with. But other than that, yeah, no, sorry. Like, not to be a bitch, but no. Sorry. Like,
Well, I keep decks for specific reasons. So I have the deck that I only use to read for myself, and I use other decks to read for myself, but I just, yeah, in my mind, I'm like the Ashley Cook. I won't ever use that to read for someone else. So I always keep that aside. If kids want to look at them or people, yes, I prefer to ask, and, I'll decide which deck to give them, just to say, okay, if this is like your first intro, I'll kind of let them take a look. But then there's other decks that I do use actively in reading with people, and I don't mind. Like, I'm with you, Jasmine, if they're part of the reading, I will let them pick their cards. And yeah, so I'm kind of with all of you there, but I clear my decks a lot. So I really like to go through that motion of saging and Palo Santo and putting them to charge in the moonlight, and
for sure. Yeah, I feel like if you are going to allow others to touch your deck, you definitely want to do some clearing and cleansing and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to the next question. So this is from Twin Moon Tarot. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, I love following her and learn a lot from her. But she's asking the Coven if you have any crazy client stories to tell. And I'll start. I hope everyone can pull out something fun. But I think my only story that I have that I think kind of resonates, it's like, I sometimes have a hard time if I don't prepare like the actual layout of the spread or what that is. I always like to have a plan in place, right? Because I find that people can then take it off in all sorts of directions if there's not some focused kind of restraint. And so I was reading for a friend, someone close, and I think just knowing too much of the story, it was really hard for me to not infuse some of my own feelings about it. But yes, there was like the obvious layout, and it seemed very much aligned to what you would think would be like a marriage or like proposal. And I kept saying, nope, I don't see that in these cards. I refuse to acknowledge that that's what's being told here. And yeah, so it was kind of hilarious. And afterwards we went back and forth, and she's like, no, I really feel like the Hierophant meant marriage in that spread. And I'm like, nope, I don't think it did. Yeah, so that's my funny story.
Unfortunately, I do not have any funny stories. Most of my readings have been, I don't know, I guess just kind of basic. I'm so sorry I can't add to this, but I have a feeling Jekanovia will be able to add to this.
I do have one that comes to mind. Actually, I think I told you guys about this before. I had a client once who they wanted basically relationship reading. I believe it was like their spouse was going to leave them, or there was something going on anyway. It wasn't a good scene, and the cards came up, and it was very obvious that the person I was reading for, my client, was unfaithful. I mean, I'm talking like there was like, I think, Devil and Three of Swords and like Seven of Swords or so, like it was crazy, like obvious, right? And I brought it up, and they were like, well, no, that's not why. That's not why they're leaving me. But they got really upset. It actually took me a while to bounce back from this because they were like really mean with me that I could even suggest that could possibly have an effect on the relationship. So yeah, that's the craziest client I've ever had.
Did you ever hear back from them, or were they kind of just like, no?
Nope. Yeah, they left me a bad review on I was using a different platform at that point, and then blocked me. So
wow.
Never heard from them again.
I kind of feel like because that's such a big reaction that they knew there was some truth to that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, they admitted that, yes, they had been unfaithful. So it's not even they were offended that I suggested it. So,
wow.
Yeah, didn't want to face their shadow, I guess.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
Tarot can be the tough truth sometimes.
How about you, Elena? Any stories to share?
Well, so yesterday I was doing a month ahead reading for one of my best friends, and I know she just went through like a really hard breakup, and so I kind of had the feeling like she really more so wanted to find out about her love life. So the cards that came up were like, it was a Page of Cups, and I kept feeling I immediately got the feeling like somebody's going to come in, but it's not going to be like, it's not going to really be something that's aligned with you. Like, it's just like, they're just going to like sweet talk you, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, let me just pull some like from the Lover's Oracle or the Love Compass Oracle, because those always are on point with relationships. So they were all about like resistance and just using discernment and just sticking to your truth. And I'm like, bitch, you are not getting dick this month. Just let it go. Just let it go. And I thought she had me on, I thought she had her headphones on, but she had me on speaker because she had me on FaceTime, and her mom was in the kitchen, and she's like, oh yeah, Martha's just doing my month ahead reading, and yeah, basically the card says I need to stay away from men. I was like, oops, sorry, Mom.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
But hey, it was so much fun.
Listen, you were just truth telling.
Totally.
Yeah,
And that's what you got to say sometimes. I love the way that you just call it like it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, I mean, she pulled the Chariot, the King of Cups, and I'm like, no, this month is all about taking care of your needs and like really channeling that masculinity, because you're already like femme strong, but you need to like really let these men know like what you stand for and what you really want in the very beginning, and just call out those red flags. This is about just you, just stepping into your power, because she just bought a home, and I'm like, see, like, you don't need this like destruction of a man right now.
Yeah.
Just, so I was just, I don't know. I just keeping it real with her. Like, I know she wanted to, hear all about love, but I'm like, and I kept pulling cards and then we were laughing about it. And I was like, look, I'm done pulling cards. Like, this is just, I'm done.
I will say though, isn't it fun to pull cards for people who are really tapped into kind of the spiritual side? I always find that I did a reading for my Reiki master, and this is before I really got into learning more about Reiki, but she just got such powerful cards, and I was like, wow, this is connected so intrinsically to who you are. And one of the other things to pull it in here, I think even the way she was, if you ever have a Reiki master pick their cards, it is fascinating to watch the way that she could completely sense the energy. She could feel the energy in the cards, and even the way she was kind of holding them and turning them. It was like this, they were almost floating. I can't even explain it, but just those, if you have the chance to read for people who are, extra magical, not that we're all not magical, but highly recommended. I always find the cards are just so like spot on.
Well, I would have to agree. I think the best reading the best experience I've ever had was giving Jekanovia a reading a couple of months ago, because I don't know if it's because we're connected and I could just kind of feel her guides come in and chat with me while I was writing for her, but it was a lot of fun. So I definitely see what you mean about like the reading for the extra magical people.
Oh, love that.
Oh, you say you think I'm extra magical?
Of course I do. You know you are.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move on to the next question. This one comes to us from Chester's Mum 02, who has left us a question before. I thank you again for all your support and your amazing questions. This one is, I'd like to hear from all of you equally as to how, even as an amateur but a good-hearted, well-intentioned person, I can try to put that positivity out there. Now more than ever, I feel every little bit helps. That is a really beautiful question, and I totally agree that putting positivity out there is very important. I just sort of wrote down the first things that came to mind, and they were just small acts of kindness. So holding doors open for people, of course, right now at a safe distance. Smiling at others when you have the energy to. Commenting on posts that you like, writing reviews for stuff that you like, donating where you can, listening to the stories and perspectives of people who've had a different experience of the world than you. Just all of these kinds of things that I think help to strengthen our empathy. I think that's really, it's basic, but it is a very easy way to just focus on putting more love into the world.
I love all your answers, and it's really hard to be positive right now. I really love this question, by the way. But it's really hard right now to be positive, especially like if you're surrounded by a lot of stuff on the media and just maybe in your personal life. But like you said, it's just the tiny little things that you can do for people. And just even when you know something's going on with maybe somebody you love, maybe just even reaching out and just checking in. And just making sure they're okay, or even checking in on your parents, or your grandparents, just, I don't know, reaching out to people more. And then when I'm going through something personally, I try to kind of, shut off a little bit from people just so I can kind of check my emotions. And then if it needs to be shared, or if I'm going through something, like, I think being inspirational, like sharing your stories and sharing your struggles, is really like inspirational and what we need right now, because I feel like that's like shining the light. Yeah. And it'll help others to do the same. It'll help others to look within and then inspire others as well. And it's like a ripple.
Totally. Jekanovia, you know all about that.
Yes. It's all about those tiny little random acts of kindness, right?
Well, yeah, and I mean more the what Elena was saying about just sharing what's going on in your own life to sort of be a light for others, really. I mean, I think you've been doing that a lot lately, and it's been so beautiful to see.
I've been trying, and it's really hard. I think we're so used to living in that world where we only see the happy, oh, look at me, great moments, especially with social media the way it is. And so I've really been trying recently to be more, not showing the negative aspects by any means, but just showing the realness of life that, there's more to it than just a happy, happy, joy, joy moments.
Yeah.
And just practicing that, being present, and I think being willing to change your mind, and like keeping that your mind open, and understanding that just because it's your opinion doesn't mean you're right. So that's another thing I've been really working on too. So
I just wanted to say I love this question because, and I would say Chester's mom too, that I would not consider you an amateur in anything, because for someone who puts out that they, they're aware that the positivity actually helps the energetics of the world, that's certainly an open, higher awareness person. So I think that energy is everything, right? We are complete energy, 99.9%. There's space within anything. And I'm a big believer in like attracts like. And the more we put out our love and our positive vibes, if you will, or just true care and compassion, even appreciation for nature or people or circumstances, that just grows an effect. And I think it completely changes the environment around us. And we all know that the only thing that we can control is our own experience and ourselves. We can't control what others do, what they say, what they think. So to spend time, worrying about that or being upset by it, it's just not really productive. And so to just do that, check within yourself and really guard your own energy, do what lights you up, whether that's, reading or being out in nature and making sure that you're taking time to just be quiet and go within or learn and expand. And I think naturally the byproduct of being aligned within yourself is that you exude all of that energy, that positiveness, that love, and that light, if you will, out into the world. And it is felt and it grows. And, even as disruptive and chaotic as it can seem right now, this is the change creates the change, and we often are not going to be willing to move into something new unless we're uncomfortable, right? And so we're all dealing with these things and reevaluating who we are and where we are at the world and what we need to do, and that's good stuff because it shifts us into a different place. And yeah, I just feel like even the fact that you asked this question, it's a great reminder to just work on what you need to do to be lit up and feeling aligned. And that can only impress those around you and also elevate the consciousness in our own collective. So love that.
Totally. Like lead by example,
Yeah, it comes back to that, we can't change the world single-handedly, but we can change our part of the world. And by doing so, if millions of people change their little parts of the world changes. So I think that's a really good thing to keep in mind as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So the next question is anonymous, and it is, what other forms of divination do each of you use? Ooh, I love this question. And I really love using pendulums, and I've always loved those as a kid, even though I never really understood them as a kid. But so I like to use those in my readings sometimes. I like to grab a book and then just pick a random page as an oracle message. And then I've always loved little tiny charms. So I've recently started getting into charm casting. So those are some of the things that I also use. What about you guys?
So cool. I feel like one of the first times we chatted over Instagram, you were offering to do like pendulum stuff for people. And I think that's like one of the first times that we talked was you did a little pendulum question for me, and it was very cool. It was definitely on point. So
yay. Yeah. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it is really cool. And I mean, it's just pendulums are pretty too, right? So it's just like another pretty thing to add to your witchy collection.
Oh, of course.
So I don't know. For me, I really think it's just tarot and oracle, unless you count astrology. Then I guess that would be another form, but that's it for me.
I definitely think astrology sounds, that's definitely divination, or at least it's kind of like, I think of it like planning, like the architect or something. You're kind of looking at how everything is lined up and what's in store. I've used pendulum before. I pull that out every once in a while. I guess you could consider free journaling too. I do like to just take prompts and free write.
Ooh.
And really that's more, I guess, tapping into just highest self, right? When you kind of let you let your subconscious kind of take over. And I do more of emotional or body intelligence, right? So I really try to pay attention to how my body feels. And if that's divination, then let's call it divination, but really about asking questions and just noticing, do I move forward? Do I move backward? It's a form of muscle testing, I guess, but just how does my body feel in that moment or react to it? And then I've just recently started to get into Reiki, which isn't so much divination, but it's very much about moving energy and feeling energy and also just conducting energy, healing energy. So I would lump it into that as well.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of how I see astrology too. I mean, there is math and other things that come into it, but really for me, it's just seeing what energies are at play. So same kind of thing. Mm-hmm. How about you, Jekanovia?
I do several. I do tea leaves. I have crystal balls. I'm learning how to use astro dice, so I'm figuring that one out. Which I think you guys actually do bibliomancy as well, where you flip open a book, and I know I've seen Elena do it. So there's that, and then pendulums. I have a whole bunch of pendulums. I make pendulums. Clairvoyance and mediumship sometimes. I do runes, water scrying, and I want to learn how to do the Ogham staves. I'm not there yet.
What's that?
It's like the ancient druids had like the Ogham symbols. So like each one represents a tree, but it can be used as divination as well. It was like their form of writing, even though they didn't necessarily record very much because it was a very oral tradition. So I don't know a lot about it, but that's where I'm going. After I figure out the astro dice, I'm going to move into the Ogham.
That's really cool.
I'm going to sign up for Jekanovia's School of Divination right now because all of that sounds super amazing, like blow my mind.
Right?
Hogwarts 2.0.
Yes.
And actually, Jekanovia, when you mentioned Astro Dice a while back, you inspired me to get some, and they finally came in.
Cool.
I think they came in, I want to say like a couple weeks ago. So I'm going to finally start to learn them as well. So they're in my charm box, and I tested it on the reading yesterday. So I'm really curious to find out later on in the month if any of it comes true. So I'm excited.
Okay. The next question comes from Angel Myths. What do you do when you read for yourself and the result doesn't happen as the cards say? How do you deal with it, and why would this happen? Well, a lot of times I think the main reason that it doesn't come true, say, as the cards show us, is because maybe we're seeing what we want to see in the cards in the first place. Maybe we have kind of a desired result that we're hoping will happen. And so, of course, our minds want to make the cards say that to us. So that would be my first suggestion, is to kind of go back and say, okay, well, where was my head at when I was reading these cards? Also, when you're predicting with your cards, you always have to keep in mind that it's basing what's coming on where you are right now in this moment. So everything you've done, said, everything that you're thinking and feeling right now, if nothing changes, it'll give you what will happen, what's coming up. But we change our minds, we change our moods, things happen, our lives change, our future changes by the second. So I think it's also really important not to put all your eggs in one basket, per se, and let your future just be what it is, and maybe instead of trying to find solid answers of what's coming up, just what the energetics are, and maybe asking for guidance on how you can best wield the energy to make your desired result happen, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I had told the Coven that before we started recording, this was one of the questions that I was having a hard time kind of putting my thoughts together around, but I agree with everything you just said, Jekanovia, for sure. And I think that, for me anyways, when I do tarot, it's really about what's going on in the moment for me. I don't really expect it to, yes, it plays out in certain ways, but I don't expect it to be exactly everything that has come up. I don't know, because like Jekanovia was saying, we change our paths so often. You know, in the moment that you're reading those cards, when you walk away, the energy has already shifted. Your path has already probably changed, unless you literally do nothing different. There's just too many variables in life, right? And I think the same has to be said about tarot, because tarot is kind of this energetic living thing in a sense. So I wonder if maybe it might be worth it to just sort of shift your focus and look for the result of tarot to be something that's more about how it helps you in the moment, how it helps you make decisions, how it helps you recontextualize things from your past even, but maybe not so much looking for it to, yeah, it's like your future is in your own hands. You get to decide that, right? As lovely as this artwork is on lovely cardstock, it can't tell us everything. Only you get to decide, right?
And it's kind of leading into the next question, but before we go there, I always like to say that honestly, any card that comes up, there's something there that your intuitive brain will pick up on and bring forward. And that's why it's really important to journal, keep track of every draw that you do and what it means, and come back to it.
Yeah.
And honor the reading in the way that you are, using it as that guidance or that tool, because that's how you learn as well. Like, you may think, maybe you read a guidebook or something and it said one thing and you're like, this isn't true. But what does the card say to you?
Good
or what is
point.
the story
Yeah.
being told? And make some notes to that and come back to those journal entries to just see. And I completely agree with Jekanovia in the fact that we often want to see something, and unless, the card comes up that's what we were thinking, or that the only way that we think it could be answered, that you just can't go to the tarot with that. You have to be completely open, and it's great practice for us to remember that. It's like, it's just an answer that's going to be gleaned from this card, something that my higher self wants me to know or be aware of. And there is something there. And then if there's still these questions about, well, what does this mean? Or it just doesn't make sense, or it doesn't seem like it's quote unquote, air quotes, true or accurate, this is where it's great to throw it into the community and say, what does this mean? What would be an alternative? If you really can't get it, throw it out there to just get some feedback from other people in the community that are tuned in, or offer, get groups together, share each other's experiences, and kind of work through those questions with others as well, which I think is also super helpful as you're learning. But even for myself, I go back to journal entries that I've made, and I'm like, oh, I kind of see how that's shifted a bit to what I thought it was.
Right.
And where did that actually, end up showing up or being? And the more you can just document it and go back, that's going to be really helpful to learn what those cards are actually meaning for you.
Yeah, that's a really great point, because I find so often, doing like a daily card pull, it doesn't even really come into focus for a while. Like, you need kind of time and space sometimes with these things to be able to look back a little bit more objectively, maybe.
Totally.
Everything you guys said is so on point, and I really like that you said that sometimes the daily card pull doesn't really give you the answers right away, and you need to sit on it. And sometimes it's because we don't want to see, like Jekanovia said, we don't want to see it, so we get resistant to it. And I feel like if we keep resisting it gets to the point where you pull like the Tower or the Devil, and you're like, well, damn, I shouldn't have resisted.
Right? Or you just pull the same cards all over again.
Yes, and then I feel that's happened to me, where I keep ignoring a card and then it'll just keep showing up. And that happened to me in the beginning with the Three of Swords. And so, what helps too is asking you ladies, when I'm stuck on something or when I just don't see something, I ask for help, and I'll text you the card and say, hey, help me.
Yeah.
And then it helps. You guys always know what to say. So sometimes it's just reaching out to someone else that does tarot and then just getting their insights.
Yeah, for sure. Just have patience. Don't worry that the tarot doesn't quote unquote work or anything, just keep at it.
One other thing too that I wanted to add is if you do find that this happens, please don't let it discourage you from reading the cards. It does not mean that you're a bad reader or that, you don't know what you're doing. It happens to the best of us. It still happens to me. And I've been doing this a while now. So I want to make sure we mention that. Just please don't put the cards down just because, something didn't work out the way you thought it was going to.
Yeah. Maybe it's even the deck. Maybe it's just not resonating with you. Pick up a different deck, maybe. I can't tell you how many times I've picked up a deck, thrown out some cards, and I just go, nope, it's just not working for me today.
Yeah, and if there's other people involved in the situation too, maybe it's nothing you did or said. Maybe you read the cards bang on, and it's someone else's reality shifted, which affected the results. So there's all kinds of different ways you can look at it. So, yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, yeah, let's dig right into this next question, which is from Venus in Retro Tarot. Hello. So it's, what are your thoughts on predictive tarot? And predictive tarot is really just using tarot to divine future insights, right? So what's going to happen? And I have kind of mixed feelings on predictive tarot. I'm always looking to be a better person within my own self and make sure that I'm on track and listening to what my higher self wants me to know. So in that way, I like to set up my questions with some flexibility there. Doing yes, no. I rarely will do tarot yes, no. Sometimes it seems to fit, but it's not the way that I usually do tarot. And when I offer readings to people, I have a couple of set spreads that are more about a general reading. But on that, I always ask if there's questions they have. And I have a few different flows of setups that, in fact, I will just share these, some of the ones that I like to go to, depending on what the question is that comes through. And they're just little 3 cards that I'll maybe add on to the overall reading. And they might seem a little bit more on that predictive side, but I really like to have that dialogue with whoever I'm reading for, and then just say that everything changes, right? This is just a snapshot and it can go a million different ways. It's just really opening up what it could be. And not that that's because I always put it out there. I'm like, I am not a fortune teller here. I am not, I am not psychic. I mean, we all have that psychic ability where we can listen to ourselves and kind of know the prompts, but I certainly don't put it out there that I'm this is the future.
Yes.
And nothing can change. And so I would just be really careful on how you use that. But if in the moment it seems like there's an answer that you're needing, and the cards, just seem like a good way to pull that out from your unconscious mind. If you're having trouble putting your logical brain aside, then sometimes it does help. So it's not my general way to read tarot, but I'm not against it, but I just offer certain caveats if that ends up being the direction that we go.
Yeah. And I think there are some readers out there who do have some more psychic ability or mediumship ability. And I think maybe the cards for them just help bring a kind of structure or clarity to what they're already feeling. But I am certainly not one of those people. I mean, I do trust my intuition, but I think that's a little different. And I guess, in every reading, there is kind of some element of prediction in a way, or maybe I should say that in readings that I do, like the ones on my Instagram, so the weekly readings, I often use words like, this energy may present itself, or you may be feeling like this. And, I try to be really careful about the wording because in general, I like to use tarot as a mirror into the energy at present. And honestly, future positions in a tarot spread often really trip me up, and I prefer to refocus that as a possible outcome, right? Because I don't think the future is set in stone. I don't think that there is any one way to know a concrete answer. That's just not what I think. But yeah, I don't know. What do you have to add to that, Elena?
I have mixed feelings about it. But I guess when I do my month ahead readings, I always, tell the person that I'm reading for that it's not set in stone. Just take what resonates. And then just sit with it, come back to it through the month, and then see what happens and what doesn't. And just know that if something does resonate with the reading and you catch it in the moment, you have the control to do what you want with it. So that's like a power. So I always put it like that. And I always let them know, I am not a psychic. I don't predict the future. I do get channeled messages from time to time from spirit. And actually yesterday when I did the month ahead reading for my friend, as I was shuffling the cards and channeling her energy and I was closing my eyes, and I saw a black cat circling around my feet, and I thought it was my cat Daisy, but she's not a black cat. She's a brown tabby. When I looked down, I didn't see anything. So then I'm like, I wonder if she's ever had a black cat in her childhood. She didn't, but then when her mom walked in the kitchen, I said, did your mom ever have a black cat as a childhood? And it turned out her mom did. So I don't know. Sometimes I get those little visions or little things, and I'll ask who I'm reading for if, hey, does this resonate? Or did you ever have this dog or whatever? And they'll say yes. And then I'm like, oh, okay. And then I blow my mind because I don't know that that's a gift that I have. I mean, I've been told that in readings, but, and I guess it's a gift that I just need to really work on.
You do have that gift,
you
and
do.
we have benefited from that. It's so awesome when it's just like Elena throws out, hey, did one of you da 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 da? And one in the group will be like, yeah, I did. Or it's really fun. And I want to say one thing too. We have to remember that time is not linear, people.
Yeah.
This is not a timeline where I'm in one place and then the next day I'm in like this. It's constantly shifting. So I think that's the beauty of tarot too, is that reminder of that we're in this time and space and multidimensionality that's happening, and messages kind of come in and out. And so if you look at it that way, to think about future as just future, it could be messages that either your younger self needs to hear, older self, other multidimensional. And so just be open to that too.
Oh, that's lovely.
I do want to just add in that I know as human beings, we like to have that security. We like to have a roadmap and know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But, first of all, that's no fun. And second, I think it's almost like if we know that we're going to win the lottery in 2 weeks, then why would we bother going to work for the next 2 weeks? Well, then we shift all the energy, and somebody decides that they're going to quit working because they know they're going to win the lottery. And then so that shifts the energy, and they don't win the lottery, and they're broke and they lose their house. So I think to do predictive tarot is really good if it's done in the right way. Like you were saying, you're just really careful of your wording, and it's something that may happen. What I like to do is I'm all about empowering, right? I don't like telling people what to do. So it's more of, these are the energies that are possible, and this is how you can best use them to get to where you want to be. And then that puts all the power back in the client's hands, right? Because it's all about what they choose to do with it. And I think that in itself, it just gives them so much power and responsibility over their life. And then when they do achieve those goals, it's that much sweeter because they know that they worked their ass off for it and they did it. So that's kind of how I like to handle predictive tarot.
Yeah, it's like the cards can be tips and tricks or like a loose guidebook, but not a rule book, like it's not directions that you have to follow or something.
Exactly.
All right, well, we're going to move on to our final question, which is from the lovely Leslie Estrada. Once again, thank you for all your questions. Thank you, everyone, for all of your lovely questions. The final one here is there an easier way to remember the meaning of the cards? Okay, super annoying answer. You just got to keep practicing. That's really the best way to learn. But I wonder if you can afford it, or even if you can't, maybe just making like your own kind of backup deck, but choosing a deck you really like, getting a second, like a backup of it, and then writing keywords that you really like, that you really resonate with on one of the decks, and then they'll always be there for you as you're learning. In our symbols episode, Elena had talked about how she'll kind of make a personal connection with each of the symbols, and then that helps her that kind of triggers her memory when they come up in cards. And I think you can just do that with the cards in general. So, for example, when I was first really learning, the court cards were really tripping me up. And so I decided to connect them with a TV character. And that has really helped. Although my opinions and my perspectives on the court cards have shifted since then, that was a really great way for me to, just connect them with something that I would easily memorize in that kind of way. How about you, Jessie?
I learned with the Smith weight, and I have a pretty strong feelings about this because I feel like I'm pretty visual. So for me, it was probably easier, but every card I really spent time studying, and I would write about it, and I would consult books and made myself just almost like a guide that I could use. And I took that time to invest in learning each card that way, because I love using a lot of different decks. I always, in my mind, when I pull the card, let's say it's from an artsy deck, in my mind, I think about the Smith-Waite version. So I can kind of get that checkpoint of, or that foundational place of like, what is the root of this card meanings? And then I can use the take on the artsy way that it's represented in the deck I'm using and kind of play on that. But I will say that it does take time with, like you said, working with the cards. But I really almost like my own e-course or my own course where I wrote out, based on numerology or the suit and the elements and and then of course, like, just main symbolic references in the Smith-Waite, and just, worked with it, kept notes, really journal. I have notes that I still go back to in one of my early tarot journals, because I like to see kind of where I came from, and then really making notes, especially if you're journaling through the readings that you're doing, and if certain cards pop up for different answers to questions, and just noting that. It's really just working with the cards. That's how they stay in there, and knowing and being really, it's okay to look up a meaning of a card, I think, for sure. And like I said, I like to look at all sorts of different takes on cards, just to get, sometimes there's something that stands out, and maybe it's for a word that I might not have thought of, but then after the fact, I might go back to that person and say, hey, I found this meaning as well, and it kind of seemed to fit with what you're going through. So in case it helps, here's an additional interpretation of that card. So that's always fun too.
I'm glad that you mentioned that, Jessie, about reaching for the book or looking up different interpretations, because I oftentimes get that intuitive pull that says reach for the guidebook, and it's just the perfect message that either I need to hear or the person that I'm reading for needs to hear, and I love to share that too. But what's helped me the most is just trying to be consistent every day with it, or as soon as I have time, like trying to actually carve time in my schedule for it. And that's really what's helped me the most, is putting in the work. And listening to podcasts has actually helped me for some reason, just really pick up on the meanings, is listening to different readers' point of views and how they read. And it's learning everything by writing out. Like you mentioned, Jessie, is starting. I know I've had a tarot journal before, but I kind of let that go for some reason and just been journaling all my pulls just in my regular journal. But I've been really wanting to start my own actual tarot journal, and just starting from scratch, just from, the beginning of the Fool. And I feel like sometimes those little refreshers just really help you see the tarot from, like you said, from the very beginning when you started until now. And it just makes you feel so much appreciative of your growth.
Oh, so true.
Everything you guys said is like obviously bang on. Definitely your tarot community, always lean on them. That collaboration just helps it kind of sink in. Associating different symbols and figures in the deck that you work with most often. So kind of associate it with people and situations in your own life, because then they're going to mean that much more to you. I'm going to be honest, and I've never really read tarot books, so I can't honestly say that there's like a perfect way to memorize them through that way. I do follow a lot of people on YouTube, and I like to watch the weekly draws, the daily draws, the monthly draws. Because I'm learning how they see it, and I can go, oh my God, I never saw the card like that before, or something to that effect. I found that really deepens my understanding of each of the cards, but it's all about using them and getting your hands on those cards, spending time with them, not rushing. So don't pull a card and go, oh, well, I don't get that, put it back in and pull another one. Sit with it, really, really work with it. And one other method that I found really helped me when I was learning, I think they call it the movie method, is you lay out 2 or 3 cards in a row and you kind of, as if it's a movie scene, and you're like, the people are interacting in certain ways and symbols are repeating. So I found that really helped because, like, for instance, you get a knight and a queen, and are they facing each other? Are they facing apart? Is there a conflict? Is one moving and one's not? So that's, for me, helped me explore them a little bit more, so that might help a little bit for someone else.
Yeah, that's a really neat idea.
Yeah. And just being aware that it's more of that intuitive, like, what is your gut telling you is happening? Because those cards could mean something totally different coming up in a different spread, but for that moment, sitting with it and listening and not just feeling like if you felt something different when looking at a card, but yet the book says something totally different, like, don't go with the book, go with what you felt it meant at that time.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for all of those lovely questions. Some of them were really fun. Some of them were a little challenging, but I appreciated the challenge, and it's just so awesome that you guys responded. And yeah, I hope if you have any further questions or like want some clarity on anything, feel free to reach out. So now we're going to move into some tarot scopes for Leo season. As I mentioned at the top of the show, this is our season 1 finale. We'll have 2 bonus episodes coming out. We're going to continue with the Wheel of the Year. So check out or look for those, I guess, in the next couple of months. But we're hoping, or we're kind of aiming for a kind of Halloween Samhain return for season 2. We don't have a date nailed down yet, but obviously we will share all of that on our social media when it comes time. So in kind of a parting gift kind of way, we wanted to just give you a reading for the season ahead. So we have each pulled, if you paid attention to when we were doing our court card episode, each of us sort of embodied one of the queens from the tarot. So we'll each be reading for those particular zodiac signs, like within that element. And we pulled the cards with kind of your sun or rising sign in mind, but honestly, listen for your moon sign, listen for your Mercury sign. If you know what your ascendant ruler is and you know what sign your ascendant ruler is, listen for that one too. That could be fun. So we're going to kick it off with Leo because it's your season, Leo. And I am using the Wild Unknown for all of the fire signs. So I'll kick it off with Leo. I pulled the Mother or the Queen of Cups. So Leo season is a time to nurture the relationship you have with both your intuition and emotions. You're being called to step into a kind of maturity in regards to emotional awareness and needs. Acknowledge and embrace your feelings, all of them, even the tougher ones, and learn how to flow with them instead of pushing up against them. Treat every emotion that comes up as a chance to dig deeper into yourself. Now, strengthening the intuitive muscle can look different for everyone, but with the Mother or Queen of Cups, I always get the sense that involving some kind of creative channeling can be especially beneficial. So that could be free writing, drawing or painting without a set plan, making music, or perhaps finally committing to a creative project that you've had on hold. Do the thing that your heart guides you towards, not the thing your brain tells you you should be doing.
Okay, so for the Virgo, I pulled the 5 of Cups. And I'm using the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. So I know 5 of Cups doesn't always seem like a lot of fun, but I think it's a really important card to sit with. It's time to ask yourself, is it really is this really worth my time and my energy right now? Whether it's a relationship or a job or even a belief system that's just not working for you anymore. Is it really honestly worth all the energy that you're pouring into it? And so this is time to really see, like, if something didn't go as you planned, let's focus on what you learned from it, what you can take away from it, and what you've got going for you, because there might be an opportunity that's presenting itself that you're not seeing because you're so focused on what didn't go the way you wanted it to. And I know that's hard for Virgos, but it's okay to screw up sometimes. Be okay with it.
All right, Libra. So I'm using the Crystal Visions Tarot deck, and I have the Wheel of Fortune. So this Leo season, there is a new life cycle happening, I feel, or you are coming out of a really rough one. And you are going with the flow this time because you are starting to see how the chaos of challenges are part of the transformation. So don't go up against a turning wheel, because it's always going to push you backwards, and you've already, learned what that's like. So I feel like, this Leo season, you're just going to be more trusting of where you're going in your path.
That takes us into Scorpio. I am using the Hilda Tarot. And for my Scorpios out there, we have a King of Wands. And this card right now, I mean, I know all the Scorpios are already counting down the days till Scorpio.
100%.
Yeah. And that's because you're King of Wands. And that's where we have been kind of sitting and gestating. And really, this is your time to line things up and put some commanding action into place. And I feel like there's some energy that's also gathering, and it's more about just taking the things that you've been playing with or toying with or dabbling in and moving them into that mastery level. So if there's been either something that you've been trying to learn more about or a skill that you've picked up, let's try to take it to the next level in this next season. I mean, you're kind of moving towards your power season, and I feel like there's a lot of these gifts that will help you even elevate in your own Scorpio season as it comes, because it's going to be a big one. There's going to be a lot of energy that's coming in towards the end of the year, probably a lot more chaos and change, and now is the time to kind of put that mastery in place so that you can really be the change that we all need you to be within that season, for sure.
Oh, love it. As a Scorpio, I am here for it.
Oh, good.
All right, so that takes us to Sagittarius, and I pulled the Two of Wands. So Leo season is a great time to start making plans and taking steps towards a particular dream or goal. It's time for idea to meet action. I get the sense that whatever it is you're going after will require a certain sense of synthesis within all areas of your life. So meaning you need to bring all parts of you and all parts of your life onto the same track, moving in the same direction in order for this to progress. So for example, a very basic example, if you have a goal to read one book per month, but you don't create any space in your schedule for reading, that goal will be more difficult than necessary. You may need to reprioritize your daily activities. The energy of this two seems to be saying that you know what you want and you know how to get it, but now you actually have to figure out how to put all of that into practice.
I love that.
Oh, yay.
Okay, so Capricorn got 9 of Cups for the Leo season. So my best advice to you, Cappies, is slow the hell down. Slow down, take a break, take some time to play. Sometimes I know you are goal-driven. I know that you are on it and you are, kicking ass and taking names. That's great. But don't forget to just slow down and play, nurture your relationships in your life, have some fun. Don't lose sight of what's important. Enjoy this moment. This is what you have. This moment is all you have. So you need to enjoy it and take it in, because otherwise you're not going to enjoy the victory that's coming quite as much. So slow down.
Oh, Aquarius. I also pulled the Two of Wands for you as well. So I feel like with the twos, they always bring choices, but you always want the best results, that harmony. There's always going to be a conflict when you're trying to make a choice, but I feel like it's the call to really make that choice is too far as in which direction you're going to go to. And I feel like you've been harnessing your gifts lately because you've had this inspired idea. And it doesn't have to be like so creatively. It could just be something simple that an idea you want to get out at work, or maybe something that you want to change around in your home or in your family. But this is the call to just really shine and just take that idea and spread it and do something with it. and make that choice.
Okay, Pisces, for you in your Leo season, I have selected the Three of Cups. And what came to mind is over the last couple of months, just our Pisces friends being so in tune and connected, taking in all of the energies going on. I just felt the need to say, relax, protect your energy. So this is about knowing what you need to, again, going back to what I said, stay aligned. That's just what kept calling, and have some fun. Like, I feel like this is a time for you to call up whatever friend you haven't spoken to in a while, pull together, however it looks, just something that feels decadent to you. Maybe it's just making sure that you get that bath that's clearing, but it's about kind of rebuilding that structure and also taking that creative energy that is kind of been just maybe seemed a little frenetic. What can you create with this? And I always think of threes as being that creative space, right? And so in going into the end of the year, just take time for you, protect your energy, and do something that's creative and lovely in your life.
Okay, for Aries, I pulled the Chariot. And so Leo season is a time to get really clear on what motivates you and then determine how you can channel that motivating energy into the next chapter of your life. Part of this might involve a letting go or detachment from what's familiar. As we move through life, we create a kind of shell that helps us get through. The shell is, but not limited to, our daily routines, our values, our relationships, and even the way we dress or present ourselves to the world. These shells are essential, but must also be adaptable because sometimes parts of that shell, or even the entirety of it, needs to be shed in order for us to keep progressing. Sometimes these shells are what keeps us locked in certain patterns or prevents us from ever stepping outside of what we know. So make sure your shell is supporting your motivations and not holding them back.
Okay, Taurus, for your Leo season, you pulled the Knight of Pentacles. So this is a time to focus on building stability. Don't worry too much about trying to keep up with other people. There's not a whole lot of movement, and that's okay. Tap right into that Taurus Earth energy and be okay with standing still, because right now you're creating routines and making plans. It doesn't require a lot of forward movement just yet, but there's going to be a time very soon where you're going to get your hands dirty. There's going to be that nitty gritty work. It's going to be tedious and it's going to be right up your alley. It's going to make you feel like on top of the world. But what you need to do right now is really keep in mind what your end goal is, rather than just planning step by step by step. You want to make sure that you're planning towards a specific goal in the end.
Okay, Gemini. So for you, I pulled the Queen of Swords. And for me, the Queen of Swords reminds me of that person that has learned from their experiences, has learned from all the tough battles she's gotten herself into, or the drama, or whatever it may be, and really taking a stepping into their truth, and learning to speak their truth. And I feel like that's what you're going to be more of this Leo season. You're going to feel more authentic, and that's the kind of energy that you are going to want to look towards this Leo season. And I feel like there may be some, I don't know why this popped up when I was looking at this card, but just steer clear from gossip and drama, because there's going to be a lot of eyes on you this month, and you are very intelligent. Like the Queen of Swords are very intelligent people, very they just know what to say, very logical, and so a lot of people are going to look up to you this month, and so you don't want to be looked at as like a negative person or a mean person, because we all know that's not who you are. So really be towards the positive this month, and instead of focusing on the negatives.
Okay, Cancer, you watery crabs, you. I was really feeling the fire. And so we had the King of Wands for our Scorpio friends, but Queen of Wands is the card that I drew for my Cancers. And really what came to mind is setting up safe space and domesticate whatever, I'm not saying you need to make some pies, but make your home a beautiful place, because there just seems to be a lot of energy about creating this haven that is kind of a takes you away from the craziness of the world, but also digging in deep with what's kind of been underneath the surface. So whereas the king took, he's got that commanding action there. Think about internally, like what is just needing to be taken care of or crossed off the list. So while there is action, it's more about to create this beautiful place and this safe space for yourself and your family or your partner or whoever that may be. But using this time to do that. And I use the Hilda Tarot for the card draw, but when looking at the Queen of Wands, I see these beautiful sunflowers. And so it's just a reminder that this is for the Northern Hemisphere. This is the summertime. So if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, enjoy the warmth and the beauty, that fire energy that's coming up from the ground, and making sure that that's a big part of, how you are taking care of yourself. But really creating beautiful space so that as we move into the colder months, you are well set to ground and have this enjoyable experience.
Amazing. So much lovely, juicy goodness in all those Tarotscopes.
Very fun. And I will say, as the Taurus, I loved my Tarotscope for Leo season. So thank you.
I'm quite partial to the Cancerian one, so thank you.
I mean, listen, all Jesse had to say was Scorpios are waiting for Scorpio season, and I was on board.
You know what? Me too. When she said that, I was like, you know what? I'm lightweight feeling that because I'm ready for Halloween.
I know. Everybody shits on Scorpios, and then everyone remembers that Halloween, hello, it's a Scorpio.
Hey, I don't shit on Scorpios.
I didn't mean you necessarily, but...
You know I love Scorpios.
We just get a bad rap out there.
I know, and it sucks.
I
love
hear
you,
ya.
Scorpios out there.
Everybody says Cancerians are moody bitches.
I
but,
know. All you do is cry.
It's true.
It's true, though, because Cancer Moon, hello.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's going to wrap it up for our regular episodes of season 1. Thank you, gals. Thank you to the listeners. This has been such a fun experience. As I said, you'll have some Wheel of the Year bonus episodes coming your way in between now and season 2. And yeah, come hang out with us on Instagram at Tarot Coven Cast. The rest of our handles will be in the show notes, and we'll see you in season 2.
Thanks, everyone.
Happy summer.
Thank you, everyone. Love you.
Thank you so much for listening to this season of the Tarot Coven Cast. Stay tuned for our upcoming bonus episodes and for season 2 debuting in fall 2020. And until then, everyone, keep making magic.